Just let me know when you've got the technology going.
It's almost
Are we
there.
good?
Oh, then give it one
Okay.
more. Okay, we're good.
Are we good? Excellent. Yeah, I just want to make sure I know who's here. I think we've got Joe, right? Joe, you're on.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, great. Hi, Joe. Sally, I see you there. Bob, I see you there. Robin, you're on, aren't you?
I am.
Welcome. And am I missing anyone else?
Susan, I'm here as well.
Hi, Susan. How you doing?
Good, good.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. We don't have anyone signed up for public comments, do we?
No.
All right. I don't have any comments. So let's move into staff reports. Mary Ellen, please.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to start off my report tonight with sharing with you all some photos of the North Branch. Chris is pulling it up right now. We've created a new webpage for the North Branch Reimagine project, and Oliveri has started the work already, and as you can see, the place has been completely gutted. So this is what a library looks like without any books. It's remarkably different, isn't it? So they're going to send us pictures periodically throughout the project, and we're going to document the construction progress on this website. Okay, so I also wanted to let you know that the library submitted written testimony last week to the Ohio House Finance Committee as they're reviewing House Bill 110, which relates to the state budget. Scott Olslager is the chair of the committee. I will send you all a copy of the testimony, but the testimony described the many ways that we have served the public during the pandemic and advocated for maintaining the public library fund at 1.7% of the general revenue fund in the new budget. Wanted to also share with you that beginning next month, we will have branch managers from each branch visiting our board meeting to share what's happening at their location. So each branch manager will come once a month. Also wanted to let you know, I was talking with Stephanie Cargill, our communications director, about some recent marketing efforts that they've done. And we had 60 people register last night for the R.L. Stein author event. They sent out an email newsletter last night. So just that one email blast, 60 people registered. And then after we sent out the print Explore guide in the mailboxes, we had 270 people register from that. So our marketing efforts are seeing some nice returns. Also want to let you know that our seed bank went live yesterday, and we had 395 requests on the first day alone for seeds. So people are clearly thinking spring and gardening, and our librarians here at Maine are very busy filling those requests. And then I also wanted to share with you that libraries across Ohio are going to be offering at-home COVID test kits for free. The state of Ohio is making them available to libraries to offer to patrons and people in the community. We plan to make those kits available to our patrons at the drive-up windows at Lake, Jackson, and the Maine Library. We'll be making an announcement to the public in the next week or so.
Thank you.
So that's pretty exciting that these at-home kits will be available at our libraries, and they will be available free of charge to anybody who wants to get one. And that concludes my report. Does anybody have any questions?
When will those be available?
I think in the next week or two. Okay. Yeah, we're making the final arrangements right now.
All right, Mary Ellen, thank you.
Repeat where.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Yep. Can you repeat where those locations are going to be that kids can get those free packets?
Oh, sure. The test kits will be available at Lake, Jackson, and Maine. Those are the branches that have drive-up windows, so we can have contactless pickup.
Okay. Any other questions for Mary Ellen? right, great. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Chris?
Fairly short update here. We have some more items in the Finance and Audit Committee report. As the Finance and Audit Committee did meet, and we have several resolutions to cover later. But looking just through February, we have our total revenue, or our February revenue was 3.6 million. It's 4.26 through the end of January and February combined, which is back to about normal if we include the new levy amount. If you recall back in January, I said we were a little bit under where we normally are. And that was solely because the levy had not come in yet. We typically start receiving levy advances sometime either in January or February. This year happened to be a February only situation. So we were a little light in January, but only because of that. So all is good. The levy is collecting the normal rate. Everything is good there. Expenses, we spent about $1 million in February, puts us at 2.3 million through the year, which again is pretty consistent with where we normally are. If we look at it from our temporary budget, which should end this evening, we spent 43.8% of our general fund temporary budget. So that's a 3-month budget. It's a little bigger than a 3-month budget in certain areas. So I didn't expect us to approach anywhere near spent, but some of the areas, for example, payroll and benefits, we budgeted that one pretty close. We hit 63%. So you figure in 2 months, we would hit about 2/3. We got pretty close. So we're right on. Everything tracked pretty well through that. As far as PLF, the PLF is actually doing, I would say, surprisingly well this year. I anticipated that it would do okay, but through March, we've actually collected almost $165,000 more than what we had originally expected to budget. That's 9.18%. So that I would assume means the state is doing pretty well as far as tax collections and spending compared to what they were anticipating. So that's good news. Hopefully we have more good news in the next coming months. I know Mary Ellen has mentioned several times about advocating for the PLF. So in June, the state will be voting for the budget. So whether the PLF stays at 1.7% or drops to 1.68 or 1.66 or anywhere in between there will definitely impact what the second half of the year will be. But I don't think it'll be, regardless of what they pick, it won't be a dire situation. But obviously, we would be much in favor of the 1.7 as we could use the funding. But overall, everything looks good from a financial perspective so far this year.
Okay, great, Chris. Any questions for Chris?
No, Steve, I'm sorry to try to go back to something that Mary Ellen said. I'm still thinking about those kits, and I'm concerned that they're not getting into the hands of the kids that probably have the biggest learning gaps. And so Jackson and the other Lake probably don't have the same need as our inner city locations.
Joe, these are COVID test kits.
I thought they were learning kits.
No. But I will share with you, we are working on plans for summer learning kits for students.
Okay,
And
I totally missed that. Sorry. Okay, then I don't care. No.
your point is well taken. So we are focusing on those areas of need for the summer learning kits, for the at-home COVID kits. We're focusing on those locations because they're drive up.
All right. Thank you for the clarity. I'm worried about those inner city kids.
I know.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Chris before we move on? All right, thank you. The next item in our agenda is the matters contained in the consent calendar. I'd ask for a motion to approve the items contained within the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Carries. Next, we have the Buildings and Grounds Committee report, and specifically matters related to the Plain Branch lease resolution. Who wants to head that up?
I can. So we have negotiated a new lease with Plain Local Schools, and this lease will start at the beginning of July 1, and it's a lease for 10 years, and we will have the opportunity to opt out during the first 5 years of the lease. This lease will change our space at the location. Instead of staffing both the first and second floor, the library is going to have responsibility only for the first floor. The school district will be responsible for staffing the second floor. So, so there will be some changes into how we operate the space there.
Will the second floor be a library also?
The second floor will have a collection on it, and it will have computers. The collection will be mainly the collection that the student body at Glen Oak High School uses.
It won't be anything of ours. It'll be.
Well, we do purchase the collection, and it is library owned that we purchase for the school district, but the general public will not be allowed on the second floor, but we can certainly page materials for.
And the computers are also ours.
Yeah.
The computers are also ours. Part of what the school uses, they use a lot of our database access, and it becomes extremely difficult for us to allow full access to our databases outside of our network. So one of the pieces is we're going to keep the computers up there and keep running the library network to those computers, so that way those students can have database access pretty easily. So that's something we didn't change, but we're no longer, well, we haven't been paying for the second floor. The lease had some square footage numbers that I assume were estimated, so we were paying for 12,000 square feet. The actual measured square footage is 10,205. So we are only paying for that instead of the 12,000. So that's about a $15,000 a year savings. And then, as Mary Ellen mentioned, we won't be on the second floor anymore. So some of the operational changes will also impact. We won't actually eliminate any staff or anything. We're currently running a staff member light there right now, so we just wouldn't refill that position. So compared to historical numbers, we'll be saving on the staffing there as well. So there was definitely some significant financial changes just by making a couple of tweaks to the language in the lease.
Mm-hmm. So the Buildings and Grounds Committee has reviewed the lease, and we have a resolution here tonight to give approval to sign the new lease. Does anybody have any questions?
Susan, did you review the lease?
Quickly. I did not do a full depth review of it, but I did review it quickly. So.
Okay, and you didn't have any issues?
No.
Okay. And Mary Ellen, I had a question about the $10,000 a year, and for prior years, was that, did you get a resolution on that?
I did talk to Chris about it, and why don't you go ahead and
Sure,
fill them in.
Steve. So unfortunately, so we've changed financial systems in the last handful of years, and some of that data, the detailed historical data on our receipts, was not kept. So we have general numbers about what our revenue was, but we don't know exactly, the complete source. So prior to 2016, I don't have great information. I do have, and then on top of that, we also so our retention schedule for paper documents is 3 years after an audit. So typically, 4 or 5 years after a year is gone, we no longer have paper copies of the basic detailed documents. So I don't have a lot of information on how to go back very far. What I can say is that we have made sure that we have issued an invoice for last year, and we now have a process to make sure that we are invoicing them, and we will not have any further issues going forward where we're waiting on a check to come in. We're going to be invoicing the school district and kind of taking that upon ourselves to make sure we receive that $10,000. But unfortunately, we really don't have a great method to go back, and I really don't want to. I certainly can, but I don't think it would be a great move in the partnership to go to them without any evidence that they didn't necessarily pay.
So are we going to establish some procedures so that doesn't happen in the future?
Yeah, we already have, my office we already have a method where we're going to make sure that that happens every year. And it won't get, missed. We'll make sure that they're going to be issued an invoice, as soon as every July when the new lease year comes up, they're issued an invoice at the beginning of that year, which would be the beginning of their school year. And we'll make sure we're paid. And then obviously, if for some reason it's not paid, we'll have, we actually pay our invoice twice per year. So we would at that point still have recourse to, we'd have some leverage to make sure that they did pay their fees.
Okay. All right. Very good. Those are all my questions. Anyone else have any questions? If not, then I'd ask for a motion to approve. I guess it's resolution 21, and this is a roll call vote. No, it is not a roll call vote, excuse me. So we just need a motion, a second, and a vote.
Bob moves.
A
Second.
motion is second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Resolution passes. Next is human resource matters. In the agenda is the wage increase for the non-bargaining unit employees and substitutes resolution. Are there any other matters besides this resolution?
No.
Okay. Who wants to take the lead on that, please?
I can, Steve. So on page 18 of the board packet is the resolution Steve mentioned. It's a wage increase for non-bargaining unit employees. This includes substitutes. This is generally in line with the annual increases that we do. So in the collective bargaining agreement with the bargaining unit, there's an increase that is effective the first pay period beginning on or after April 1st, 2021. That does not cover non-bargaining unit employees and substitutes. So what we did here is we calculated the average wage increase for those bargaining unit members through the contract and determined that to be approximately 3.5%, and have proposed this to the HR committee, and I believe we got their approval for a 3.5% wage increase for all non-bargaining unit members. Again, this is effective after, or the first pay period beginning on or after April 1st. So actually the pay increase actually will not take place until almost the end of April due to how the pay periods start this year. The pay date is actually April 30th, but it includes all employees, all non-bargaining employees, including substitutes that were hired on or before January 1st, 2021. And it does not include the CEO, executive director, or the fiscal officer. It also doesn't include any employees that are on a performance management plan. And sorry, it is also reflected in the 2021 operating budget, which is a resolution slated later in the agenda.
Okay. And the HR committee did review this, and it's their recommendation to go forward with this resolution.
That is correct, Steve.
Okay, thank you. With that, then, I would ask for, if there's no discussion or questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
And we have a motion, a second. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, same. All right, the resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on to finance and audit committee matters. The first matter on the agenda is the temporary referendum on table of charge fees. Chris, do you want to speak to this, please?
Sure. So this is really, it's an extension of the a temporary extension of the waive of the copy and print jobs that we've had for about a year now. I believe it started in July. So this would go from April 1, 2021 until June 30th of 2021, where all copy and print jobs for black, white, color, all the various copy jobs under $3 would be, the fee would be waived. Anything over $3, we would continue to collect payment by a credit or debit card. Again, this is just temporary. If the board takes no action after June 30th, it would revert back to what it was before.
Okay, any questions or comments regarding the resolution 21?
Did something particular draw this to your attention, or was it just something that you all decided?
Do you mean the reason why
Yeah.
we started it? Well, the impetus for it was really the cash handling during the pandemic in the early
Right.
days and transmission. And we put this forth so that our staff would not have to be handling money
Oh,
from
okay.
the patrons.
That makes sense.
But it has been very well received by patrons. A lot of people who come in to do print jobs and copy jobs, they're often applying for jobs and, filling out forms for the
I'm not
government.
arguing. I think it's a good idea. I just wondered if something occurred that caused you to do it, or if it was-
No, it was mostly related to pandemic, yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, then I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
all in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is establishment of capital fund for the Maine Library Fund 462.
Steve, do you want me to go ahead and take that one?
Yes.
Okay. So really these next three are all kind of in succession with each other. The first one, as Steve mentioned, is establishment of the capital fund for Maine Library. It's on page 20 of your board packet. This resolution basically is the board, it comes with the finance committee's recommendations that the board establish a specific capital fund for the Maine Library. And that fund is used to withhold funding designated for larger capital improvements of the Maine Library. So this would be something that not necessarily, new roofs or repairs to, certain pieces of the library, but more larger scale renovations or remodels or something to that scale that is likely coming down the road at Maine. And then along with this resolution, there's the intention of continuously adding funds to this fund for the next several years. Steve, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you caught the essence of it. We're really, it's the recognition that we need to start building up capital to accomplish what will be a very significant project. Any questions or comments about that? All right, then I'd ask for a motion to approve.
French.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Susan?
yes.
And Steve? Yes. So the resolution carries. Chris?
Sure. So the next resolution is on page 21 of the board packet. It is 2021 interfund transfers. So as you can see in the resolution, it has the recommended transfer of $4,520,000 out of the general fund into four various funds. $20,000 going to the Imagination Library Fund. This is just our annual commitment to the Imagination Library program. Another $1 million going to a bond retirement fund. So this is we have two bond retirement funds right now. One is for Jackson and one is for Reimagine. And both of those are paid on a monthly basis out of our PLF distributions. However, both of the bonds have the ability to be called upon 10 years after their issuance date. So we would be able to eliminate all or a portion of any debt on both of those. So this fund we're using to withhold extra money that we would like to use towards calling some of that debt back. It would either be in 2028 or 2030, Jackson or Reimagine. And again, it's sitting in this particular fund because then it can be used on whichever bond issuance we choose. It's not tied to either Jackson or Reimagine. The third one is $1.5 million going to the capital projects fund. So as I mentioned before, we have the main library fund that is more for larger remodel type purposes. The capital projects fund is for those roofs. It's for building fixes, parking lots, vehicle replacements, bookmobiles, computer replacements. It's our capital fund where we save up and think of it as your personal savings account type of situation. So we have $1.5 million going in there. Later, you'll see in the budget that I believe we have $1.5 million budgeted to be spent. So this is basically refilling everything that we have budgeted in 2021. And then the last one there is $2 million going into the main library capital fund, which is what was just created. So again, altogether, it's $4,520,000. This was discussed at the Finance Committee, approved and recommended by the Finance Committee that these are all this funding is transferred.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, then I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
And Steve? Yes. Thank you. Resolution carries. Chris, the permanent budget resolution?
Sure. So the last resolution in your packet is on page 22. It's the permanent budget resolution. There's a revenue and an expense. Trying to get to the expense. If you don't mind, I wanted to go over just a couple general items, but this was discussed in depth with the Finance Committee. We went over every single fund and had conversation over everything, and the Finance Committee does recommend this budget as well. Couple key points I'd like to point out on the first set of tables is the revenue. You can see that the general fund, we're anticipating revenue in 2021 of just under $19 million. One thing I would like to point out about that, it says the PLF is $6,882,000. If you look over to the right, there's actually money, $303,000 and then $338,000 in revenue for both the debt service and the both debt service funds. So that money, it's actually in total, that is the amount that we receive from the state in the PLF. But due to how we are legally required to split out PLF between the general fund and anywhere where we have debt obligations, it's not all booked into the same place. So there's really nothing super important about that, but it's just something I wanted to note to the board. We have our property taxes in there. Again, those are in line with where we expected them to be. And again, general fund is just under $19 million, which is really close to where it was in 2020. Only other fund that is really of note in here would be the Imagination Library Fund 230, where we have some donations budgeted and then some miscellaneous revenue budgeted. And then we also have the transfers. For all the transfers that were just approved are shown on this sheet. So you can see where the transfers are impacted, and then you can see the estimated resources, which is the balance that we would expect if we brought in all the revenue and had no expenses by the end of the year. The more important sheet is the expense piece of the resolution. So for mainly looking at the general fund, we have just under 16 million, so $15,900,000 in the general fund is the expense for this year. It's broken down into the various categories there. Again, our revenue is just under 19, so we're not exceeding our revenue. And then obviously you can see, I mentioned the capital projects fund, we're transferring the 1.5 million. There's a $1.5 million budget. And then the other fund that has a large amount of expenses would be the capital campaign fund, Fund 455. That is actually the Reimagine project. So we have the first three projects already budgeted, under contract, on the way. The next 3 would be slated to happen probably later this year when we sign the contract. So that money is there, so we have the budget in to sign the contract. Overall, our total budget for all funds is $22,676,000 for 2021. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for Chris? All right, I would, just to repeat what Chris said earlier, the Audit and Finance Committee did review this in detail at a meeting earlier this month, and we felt like Chris did a very good job of putting all this together and laying all this out. So if we have no other comments or questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Again, this is a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
and Steve, yes. The resolution carries. Thank you, everyone. Do we have any new business to come before the board this afternoon? No new business? Well, with that then, we'll let you go back to the rest of your afternoon. Thank you all for attending. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Enjoy this lovely day.
You too.
Aye.